It's almost there.
Great. Welcome to the April 3rd, 2024 full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 6. My name is Sandy McKee and I'm the chair of CD6. This meeting is called to order at 7 o'clock. It's a nasty night, so please, we're going to try to make our meeting very productive and short. Tonight we are joined by Secretary Olivia Shrednick, John Keller, Vice Chair, I believe via Zoom, not yet, or yes, no, there he is. District Manager Jesus Perez, Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth, and Community Coordinator Brian Lafferty. New York State law requires all community board members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. We have the following ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. Please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. It is important that only one person speaks at a time so that members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said. Please wait until you're in front of a mic to speak. We've heard feedback from attendees that our meetings are hard to hear at times. The chat function should be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you're having or to state in writing what has already been stated aloud on the record during the meeting. Members of the public, if you wish to give remarks during the public session and have not already registered by filling out a form, you can register to speak in the public session on Zoom by using the Q&A feature and posting your name, your affiliation, and what specific topic you wish to speak about. Or if you're here in person and want to speak in the public session, you need to fill out our public speaker form, which is near the sign-ins for the CB6 newsletter. This needs to be done by 7:15. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office, was posted online, and appears on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Board members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. Olivia will now take attendance.
Thank you.
Malera Dolsamad, Kyle Fane, Neil Barkley, Martin Barrett,
Present.
Elvie Barroso,
Present.
Claire Brennan, Jim Collins, Jonathan Dorico, Stuart Deser, Beatrice Desmond,
Present.
Barack Friedman,
Present.
Jason Bromowitz, Eric Goldberg, Gerald Jones, Paige Judge, Rupal Kakad, John Keller,
Present.
Nadine Kalani, Abigail Kruzmark, Sandra Leftoff,
Present.
David Lowenstein, Anton Malner, Sandra McKee,
Present.
Richard Mintz,
Present.
Rajesh Nair,
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe,
Present.
Stephen O, Reshma Patel, Stephen Perez, Miriam Ralph, Matt Roberts, Roberto Ruiz Melendez, Lawrence Scher,
Present.
Anne Saligman, Sandra Sherrod, Olivia Shrednick, present, Letty Simon,
Letty asked that we send her the link. She couldn't get on. She just
I'm
texted
working
me.
on
Okay, thank you.
Susan Steinberg,
Present.
Mark Thompson,
Present.
Gabriel Churzo, Jerry Weinstein,
Present.
Matthew Weintraub, Sarah Whittington, Hader Zeddy,
Present.
I did it. Quorum? Do we have quorum?
There is.
Good, okay, thank you all. Our elected officials sent their reports ahead of time, and you can find all of the submitted reports on the CD6 website. The link to the reports was disseminated ahead of time and can be found in the chat on Zoom now for those attending on Zoom. Anyone attending the meeting in person can find it by going to our website's page for full board meetings. I will now call on each of the elected officials who have RSVP'd so that they can take questions from CD6 members and the public about their pre-submitted reports. Each elected official will be able to field questions. If there are no questions, we will move to the next elected official on our list. If an elected official has a time-sensitive matter to report on that didn't make it into their pre-submitted report, they will have 3 minutes to do so. During this part of the meeting, we will also hear from government agency representatives who have requested to address the board this evening. And I believe we're starting with Assemblymember Harvey Epstein. Is he on?
Boris.
If not, then please, Assemblymember Alex Boris. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Assemblymember Alex Boris. I'm talking to you from my Albany office where we are still working on the budget. And if Harvey doesn't log on, I'll walk 30 feet down the hallway and tell him it's time to get on. But we are all here because the budget is at this point a few days late. As everyone knows, the budget is due April 1st. Of each year. We are diligently working to get it done, not only because New Yorkers need it, but also because us legislators do not get paid once the budget is late until we submit it. So trust that we are putting every effort into getting it done as quickly as possible, but more importantly is that we get a budget that actually meets the moment and addresses what New York State needs. And I'm fighting for making sure that we have a deal that includes some way of building more housing, as well as prioritizing public safety in a number of other policy areas that may or may not be strictly fiscal, but have risen to the top of everyone's list as part of the budget. One of those, in fact, is particularly relevant to this board, which is changes to open meetings laws that allow for exactly what we're doing right now, which is a hybrid meeting. The right to do that actually expires either June 30th or July 1st, right around the middle of the year. And the governor put in her proposal just an extension, a 2-year extension of that provision. I do expect that to go through. There is a broader bill that I am fighting for, similar to bills that Harvey is fighting for and others that report to this board, to allow community boards to meet virtually without that expiration, so that on nights like tonight, everyone can participate. It is an uphill climb. I do not know that we are going to get that done this year, but I want to be clear that I am pushing very hard for that. And if we don't get it this year, we'll continue to fight for it next year. The other late breaking update that I wanted to mention is you have all heard about my e-bike and moped bills before and report. One of them, which is changing the accident report form so that we can get real data on e-bike and moped crashes, passed the Assembly committee last week, so we are making forward progress in that. I expect it to move through the Senate committee the week afterwards. That is held by Senator Tim Kennedy in the Senate, who will be headed to Congress April 26th. And so we have a real deadline for getting it past that House as well. But that is to make sure that we can actually have real reporting on what is causing accidents on the streets. The last update, which is not late breaking, but I'll take a little bit of privilege on it because it's that important, is I've hired a new district director, Sophie Sikor, who is also on this call. She will be your liaison. She will usually be there in person when it is not raining cats and dogs. But her contact information is in the report, and I'm really excited for all of you to get to know her and to have her continuing to engage with the community board. And with that, I'm happy to take any and all questions that people have.
And Marty, please.
Is there money in the budget to cover?
Oh, Mike, sorry. Have to use that.
Is there money in the budget to cover the cost of housing and feeding the folks who've been bused to us?
Sorry, you cut out a little. I said, is there money in the budget for homeless? And then I lost, yeah.
Of housing and food for the individuals who were bused to New York from Texas?
Yes, the governor included $2.4 billion in her budget proposal to help reimburse the city for costs that the city incurs in housing migrants that I expect to sail through is included in both the Assembly and the Senate proposals.
Actually, I think Jerry, sorry, he had his hand up.
Hey, Alex, you may have covered this, but I'll underline it. Is the discussion, argument, for open meetings being extended, including the accessibility dimension?
Yes, accessibility, I think, is a big reason as to why we want to do this, especially when it comes to community boards that are not always granted space by the city. In order to meet, making sure that there is a place where everyone can participate is key. And there's reasons beyond just accessibility. When you can allow people to meet remotely, you get more participation. You also get more age ranges of people who participate. Most community boards, not speaking any bit on this, but most are lacking people in that age range that might have young children for fairly obvious reasons. And having areas where more people can participate is overall a good thing. The pushback I'm actually getting is from groups that are normally allied, which is a lot of good government groups that believe that meeting virtually sort of isn't a real meeting. And while I would agree with them that I think it's good for the Assembly to meet in person and the Senate to meet in person, as much as I would love to stay in the city and not come to Albany, I do think there's something special about community boards, and that would be better done if the community boards have the option to meet virtually. Of course, if a community board opts out, they can do that as well. But it's just taking a little more convincing to get everyone there.
Larry.
Things that this community board has encountered in transitioning to the hybrid format is discovering that our equipment that we are using isn't necessarily up to the task. And working specifically in this kind of a meeting where everybody on the Zoom can be viewed individually. We see here in the second row that somebody who's speaking behind me cannot be seen or necessarily even identified. Is there any way to put a budgetary item in there so that we might try different equipment? Certainly has to be purchased.
It's a really good point, and one that I've been in contact with the borough president about to find funding for AV equipment and other equipment to enable the best experience here. First, I have to convince my colleagues that we should change state law to allow it before I get them to fund it. But I will say that, all Assembly and Senate offices look at district needs statements and other things when we're thinking about how to allocate the funds that we have. And to me, doing something that enables more people to participate in the democratic process and in community boards, it would be a really good use of funds. So if there's a specific ask or piece of technology or equipment that would be helpful, you should definitely reach out to Sophie, and I would love to kind of brainstorm on whether there's state money or city money or other kind of ways that we could help supply that.
And Sandra, if you'd like to ask your question, please.
Yes, about these motorized bikes and whatever is causing what's causing. Who would deal with getting them all license plates? I would love to know who's about to run me over, their names, but certainly their numbers. So who does that, and how can we get that on the agenda?
Yeah, there are separate proposals in order to require licensing and registration for e-bikes. As I always say, licensing and registration is already required for mopeds, but we just have basically no enforcement of it. If you look at the data, which I did want to put together that report, you think about how many mopeds exist in New York State. All are required, in New York City, all of them are required to be registered. The number that are actually registered in New York is less than 5,000. NYPD seized over 13,000 illegal ones last year alone and has seized over 4,000 illegal ones in 2024. So why do I bring that up when you ask about e-bikes? Because if you just pass a license and registration bill, but you don't pass something requiring the stores to actually register when it's sold, you get in a place where you just have this uneven enforcement and people avoiding it. So I want to make sure that we're fixing the moped side of it, which is what my two bills do. And then there's ongoing conversations about, you know, how we should deal with e-bikes separately. And I think that, you know, the four bills that I have on it are by no means the only four bills being considered up here, nor I think the only four that people are going to be talking about.
Right, and the only other comment on that is accidents are one thing, right? And that's an unfortunate, but we're dealing with it every day when we walk outside as
Totally.
pedestrians, and it seems to be nothing is being done about that.
Totally.
So it's a real problem.
No, I'm very focused on improving the street safety in that way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anton? Oh, okay.
Hi, going back to the budget,
Oh.
is there money allocated for enhanced cannabis enforcement?
We are hoping to get it, right? So again, the budget isn't passed yet. So anything that I say is sort of still in negotiation, but there is very strong support among increasing enforcement for illegal cannabis shops. Not only the money for it, which we did put a bunch of money for it in last year's budget. We actually tripled the number of Office of Cannabis Management agents and introduced new fines that can then go back into enforcement. But it's also about giving the legal authority to do it. So to be clear, the state has the civil authority already to close these shops. And the city actually can close them for criminal liability. So NYPD right now has the power to close these shops. They don't do many of that work because most of the activity, though, prohibited is not sort of a felony or high misdemeanor or something that they would prioritize. And so what the city has asked for is the civil authority to shut down these shops so that not police, but other agents can actually go ahead and do that. And I think there's strong support to allow that. We just got to make sure that it's done right and not in a way that is sort of going against the original goals of the program of allowing it to succeed. So I would say, 95% of I'll only speak for the assembly up here, though I assume the Senate's the same, but 95% of my colleagues in the assembly are strongly pushing for some sort of new enforcement. And the only real pushback is getting the details right.
And pardon me. Thank you so much. And Sophie, welcome. Look forward to seeing you in person. And I think we're going to go to Harvey Epstein. Is he on?
Thanks everyone for having me. And if someone could ask Harvey where that beautiful place he was walking outside is, because I'm still learning Albany, and that looked really nice. So, but thank you everyone for having me.
Alex, I'm right here with you. I'm here in Albany. What are you talking about?
I know,
I'm
but
right
the
here with you.
background looks beautiful. I'm in my office. I got to follow you. You got a better thing going on. Kristen too. Look, okay. We'll talk afterwards.
In between meetings, but yes. Actually, Harvey, I don't see you. Are you also outside or?
I just walked into the hotel, Kristen, but maybe we should just say this together. Can we just
let's
announce
do this together? Yeah.
So Senator Gonzalez and I want to announce a huge win for our community. Senator Gonzalez, I'll hand it to you.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Epstein. As you all know, we have been fighting the Mount Sinai Beth Israel fight for months. We've been leading elective calls every single week. We've sent several letters to the Department of Health, to Mount Sinai. We have led meetings with the Mount Sinai executive to really express our concerns. And we've helped, I've introduced actually two bills. One co-sponsored with Senator Rivera that Assemblymember Epstein just helped pass through the assembly yesterday to improve our hospital closure process, and another bill I introduced in the Senate on implementing a hospital closure moratorium. But after all of this work between the coalition, the lawsuit, inside, outside, we have some really big news today, which is that the Department of Health has officially rejected the application for closure for Mount Sinai Beth Israel, citing it as incomplete and asking them, So really excited, and I can turn it back to you, Assemblymember Epstein, if you want to add as well about what that means for us. Yeah.
Well, I have to say that
Yeah.
I want to really thank CB6 for their leadership here. We've had all the community boards in Lower Manhattan together. We've had every single elected from, I know Kristen and I overlap on this site, and so we've been unified as a strong team to fight for what we need in our community. We've had, we just had our most recent press conference last weekend. I think this has been such a coordinated effort that I think we are really excited that the state health department said the application was insufficient and incomplete and rejected it. That means we are back in a driver's seat in bargaining position with Mount Sinai to say what we really need in our community. And that's not just because of all the work that Senator Gonzalez, our team, Congressman Member Nadler, Borough President Levine, Council Member Rivera, and all our adjoining electeds have been doing for months and months since we met in October, and they told us they were going to shut down the hospital. We said no. This coalition to save Beth Israel and New York Eye has been powerful, and I think we have set the standard of the first that I know of denial of a hospital closing. On top of what we got last year was the first denial of a PIPIC application to merge and New York Eye and Beth Israel. This is how our community speaks in one voice together, and we should all be really proud of this amazing effort that we did collectively. So it's, a historic win. So, Kristen, do you want to talk more about this? Hand back over to you.
No, it's okay. I'm in between meetings. I just want to say thank you to every single person here. And I want us all to take a moment and give everyone a round of applause just for truly, this effort. This is not an insignificant win. So for all the folks in the room, I'm seeing a lot of smiling faces on Zoom. So thank you.
You muted.
I'm muted. I said I'm outside and it's a bit cold and rainy. We are obviously in the middle of budget. We're doing a lot around housing and everything. We're happy to talk more about that. But I think this is a good for today. So Harvey, honestly, if you're welcome to to go if you have some updates. Yeah.
I was just going to give some updates. We are, Alex mentioned where we are on the budget. I think we are unique. We're unified in our effort to give the NYPD power to close down the cannabis stores. I think we'll get that done in the budget. We gave more money to Office of Cannabis Management. They haven't hired the people yet. That's kind of I would argue on the executive side. That's not us. We are looking to really strengthen Medicaid so we can make sure that hospitals like Beth Israel have the funding that they need to be able to stay open, ensure that money goes to Bellevue for capital improvements or whatever improvements they need. Clearly going to be in our budget. We're pushing for a comprehensive housing plan that I know Senator Gonzalez and some member Boris, as well as our other electeds, are fully behind, because I think we're very close to a housing plan and a housing deal that's really exciting. I passed a bill today. We talked about Joanne's bill around hospital closing. I passed a bill around nursing home closings and making sure there was a real community effort around nursing homes. People remember the Rivington House closing, that we found out about it afterwards, after it happened. The bill I passed today will create a real community participation plan, just like similar to the one that Joanne Simon passed around hospital closing. That was passed yesterday. We'll need the Senate to pass both of those bills. One is held by Senator Rivera, and one is sent by Senator Kavanaugh. I think there's a real plan to get those bills done before the end of session. Just on the community events quickly, we're doing an e-waste event next weekend. We have some shredding events coming up. You'll see those in our e-blast. We're having an Earth Day event at the end of the month to kind of work in some of our public housing developments around Earth Day. So a lot of things going on in the neighborhood, a lot of things going on up here in Albany, but I don't want to take up more time, but I just wanted to, I'm very excited about all the work that we're doing together. And I want to thank you all for your work, your leadership, and your support for all of us. And I see, Susan, you have a question for me. You're muted, so I can't hear it.
Okay. Well, first, I want to thank both you and Kristen for your unbelievable efforts, and for all of the elected that managed that absolutely fabulous Department of Health decision. Bravo, bravo. But in particular, what I wanted to mention to you, Harvey, is that the landlords are lobbying like mad to undermine the HSTPA and get either apartment improvements back into play, or to get vacancy bonuses. And we understand that they're really holding things up in Albany, and we're concerned. How much should we be concerned?
Okay, well, first of all, Susan, just for people who don't know, the work that we did in 2018, leading in 2019, those rent laws, we worked tirelessly to pass the most comprehensive packages of tenant protection laws that we had seen for 40 years. And we're proud to go around the state to make sure that bill was as strong as it was and protect people like Stuytown. And that victory we just recently had with the landlord deciding to drop their appeal, because we wrote the law, so we knew what it said, and we knew that Stuytown was covered. All the units were covered by rent stabilization. The threshold we're talking about is for individual apartment improvements called IAIs. Right now, when we said it in 2019, we said a $15,000 per apartment for 15 years, and those IAIs were only temporary, not permanent. They want to get rid of the temporary thing, make it permanent. One fight. The second thing is they want to increase the threshold from 15,000 up to a much higher number. I've heard up to 150,000. So the question we have to answer is, are we willing to move past 15? And I think the housing community knows we have to move past 15, because that win 5 years ago was huge. But 15,000 in today's dollars is different than $15,000, 5 years ago. The question is what that number is. It's not 150, it's not 50, but it probably isn't 15 anymore. And the question is where that number goes. Still at a 15,000 and $100 increase for an apartment. At 30,000, obviously it's 200. So we have to figure out what we're willing to give. I think we're going to give something, but we're not. I 100% believe we're not giving away the farm, but I think we're going to allow an increase in IAIs. But at the same time, we're going to make sure we hold strong to make sure we ensure that those apartments, when they become vacant, let's say there's a 1,500 two-bedroom apartments renting for 1,500 in Stuytown, we don't want to see that go to 6,000. But could it go to 1,500 to 1,700? That's a question we need to answer, and that's kind of what that's the landscape that we're operating in. We're never going to see a deregulation. I will never vote, and I think most of my colleagues never vote for a deregulation, and we hope for that not happen. But I can see us moving up the II threshold a bit. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Oh, Larry has a question.
This is a question for the group of you in Albany. What are you doing to help retailers fight theft and resale of their stock, so that they can protect themselves better and their customers can find the items that they want without having to ask for an unlocked shelf?
Yeah. So I think there's three things going on that front. One is making sure that there's money available for small businesses to be able to buy security systems, cameras and things, especially for the small businesses. Obviously larger retail companies are in different positions than the small mom and pop, so we want to make sure we protect those. Two is to ensure that the state laws allow to not only just arrest, but also bail will continue to apply for repeat offenders, and that is already the law. And the third is to provide additional resources for the city to look at what we call these kind of interstate kind of retail gangs, and making sure that those kind of groups who are doing this across the border from state to state, there's real kind of enforcement on that. There's a state task force is working on that. So I think that's those three prongs are really going to help to ensure that we can crack down on the retail theft we're seeing, not just in the city, but around the country. The other thing I'll say is, if you look at retail theft and retail theft rings for New York compared to other states, it's actually much lower in New York than it is in most states around the country. And so while we have a problem, we don't have as big of a problem as most of the country has right now, which some people in New York are surprised to hear. But they're also surprised to hear that we have lower, we have our murder rates are lower, our arrest rates are lower. But just kind of people living in New York, they don't realize that many states are doing much worse than we are. And so I think these three-pronged strategies is really going to help us get in front of that issue.
Great. I think that's everything. And thank you for the amazing news. It's a great thing to hear on this nasty night. So we really appreciate all that you have done, you and the senator.
Thank you, Sandy, for all you doing, and thank you to the community board for your work, really being partners in this effort together. And I look forward to many more wins together. So thank you all, and I hope everyone enjoys the rain you're getting. I think we're going to get snow up here, so I hope you enjoy it down there.
Great. All right, stay dry. Thank you. We have Braca Rosenberg from Borough President Levine's office next.
Oh, I think I was on mute. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's staying as dry as you can tonight. It's good to see you all. I don't have so much to add to my announcements, but I do want to flag for those who may not be aware. You may remember Tricia Shimamura, our Director of Community Affairs. She's now moved on to become the new Manhattan Borough Commissioner for the Parks Department. So we're really, really happy for her. And in the meantime, on our end, Eric Cuello, who's been our Deputy Director, has now become our Acting Director for Community Affairs. So please reach out to him for anything that you would need the director for. And his email is in the report as well. And then I know there were a lot of questions last week about the timeline for community board applications and appointments. So we finished all of the interviews, which was no small feat. And we're now continuing to finish up the review process for the applications, and we're hoping to have appointments completed by the end of the month, first week of May at the latest. So I hope that helps. You can see more in our report in terms of our housing agenda and lifting the FAR cap, which we've been speaking about a lot lately and working on in Albany. And yeah, please, if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Yep, Anne?
Yeah, I have a question about lifting the FAR cap. I'm certainly in favor of increasing density. I think that's one of the only ways that we can improve, reduce the housing crisis. But I am concerned about kind of contextual development. And I'm just wondering what you are proposing, how, I know contextual can be a word that means, it just means NIMBY, but it also, if you're a neighborhood of single family homes, putting up a 20-story building, especially if you don't have the grocery store, the transit, et cetera, or, the schools. I just want to make sure that your proposal for lifting the FAR cap is taking those kinds of considerations into account.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you know that we care a lot about preserving the unique characters of every neighborhood, and respecting the people that live there and making sure that, everybody's quality of life, is as high as possible. I think just as with any development, even with the FAR cap in place, any, proposed developments go through a review process and receive community input. And we're always going to take that neighborhood context into effect, with or without the FAR cap.
Great. I think that's it. Do we have any other questions? Great. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to go on to Evelyn Collado from Controller Lander's office.
Evelyn, are you here?
If not, we'll go on to Hannah Weinerman from Representative Nadler's office.
Hi, everyone. Hannah from Congressman Nadler's office. I don't have anything to add to our report. The only thing I just wanted to flag is, so we talked about the art competition for high schoolers. So it's open to each Congressional District has their own competition. So if your high schooler resides in New York 12, they should apply through our program. If they reside in New York 10, you should apply to Dan Goldman, et cetera. So I can answer any questions about that or any other questions you have about the report that we submitted.
Do we have any questions? I guess not. Thank you so much.
Everyone, take care.
Thanks. And then we have Tevin Williams from Representative Dan Goldman's office.
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you, CB6. I appreciate it. I apologize for the delay on the report tonight. Nothing to add on my end. The Congressman's doing great work all around, but if you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask. My colleague Hannah is your main Congressman, but we do represent some of you, and we are more than happy to answer any questions that you have for our office. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, is that it for?
That's it for the electeds.
Okay, has anyone signed up to speak in the public session?
Yes, they have.
Sorry, Patrick.
Hi. No, I have nothing to add to my report, but just wanted to give folks the opportunity if they have any questions.
We have a question? Okay, Miriam.
Hi, Patrick. This is Miriam. I
Hello.
think Powers had proposed or co-sponsored a bill around the noise pollution. I can't remember if it had to do with the horns or the sirens. I want to say it had to do with the sirens. Today has been a nightmare since I woke up to when I left the apartment. It's just been really bad to where I can't even read a simple email. And so are there any updates around what's happening with the noise pollution bills that I think Carolina Rivera has also sponsored a separate one, but it's getting really bad.
Sure. I mean, I'd be more than happy to put my information in the chat and follow up. I'm not sure what the status of those bills are currently. I can check on that. I know that we had our noise camera bill that we, passed last year to put in place the pilot program for the noise cameras. But in terms of, additional legislation in regards to sirens and the volume, I believe there was something in the works. I just am not certain off the top of my head exactly what the bill number is and what the status is, but I can definitely look into that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the public session, please.
All right, we have one speaker.
Oh, I'm sorry, Anne.
Wait, I just want to clarify. So the current bill does not cover sirens, right? Just horns? And
I'm not too certain. I don't want to give you the incorrect information. I believe it is just horns, but let me double check on that and I can, follow up with you.
Dave, do you?
Also engine noise.
Okay, yeah, transportation actually signed it.
Yeah, it's also engine noise. Horns and engine noise.
Okay. Thank you.
So we need to address sirens separately. Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
But I do believe there was some legislation in the works in regards to siren volume, so I can definitely look into that and find out what the latest is and send that to the board office.
Thanks very much.
Of course.
Okay, we have one speaker in the public session, Mr. Michael Cohen, who is a resident of Community District 6 and wishes to address the board on a matter on our agenda tonight regarding the 2nd Avenue bike lane. Mr. Cohen, you will have 3 minutes on the clock. You may begin your remarks now.
Hi, I'm Michael Cohen, and I really want to see the bike lanes and the bus lanes improved. The bike lanes, sometimes when you're riding your bike, you're blocked and it's hard to get around cars and trucks that are parked in the bike lane. And I really think it'd be great to have better bike lanes where there isn't so much intrusion from cars and where cyclists have more room to pass each other. And I think on the buses, I think the curbside lanes are a big mistake. I think that they need to have buses separated from the parked cars and to have more ways the buses can be faster and not be separate and parked vehicles and double parked vehicles and have a faster trip for all of us riders now and deal with that. And there's a big difference in speed between First and Second Avenue in terms of bus speeds. And I think that it would be wonderful if that difference could be reduced, like you can make the buses go faster. Ideally, I'd put it for the entire route, I would have the bus lanes on the entire bus route and have like faster offset lanes, which would be all day, weekends as well as weekdays. And offer faster trip for everyone, because the current bus speeds, especially when you get around 60th Street near the Queensboro Bridge, are very slow on Second Avenue. And like, if you go on the bus there, you notice that it can take like 10, 20 minutes to actually go between 68th Street and 59, and there's always a lot of vehicles there in the evening, and it's like kind of like when the bus line is blocked, or for the bus gets stuck in all the traffic trying to go to the bridge, and it makes it longer time to get home or long time to go to somewhere else because you're waiting for the bus to get to pass the bridge and it takes so long for that to happen that I don't think it's acceptable. They put a curb that made it there. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes our speakers list for tonight.
Okay, the minutes from the March 13th full board meeting are still being drafted. Once they are ready for adoption, they will be distributed. We have two resolutions this evening dealing with attendance, and it is something that I think many people still find confusing. If you have a disability, whether it's temporary or permanent, you can attend via Zoom and you will automatically count towards the quorum. There is no place on the form to identify your disability. This is different from seeking an extraordinary circumstance, which must be agreed to by the chair and done prior to the meeting, and you will not count towards quorum. If you are not on Zoom and not here in person, you are absent. Any absence will be noted as to why, and there are specific reasons noted in the bylaws that are excused. Most people are good enough to notify the chair of the meeting if they're not going to be able to attend. So any questions on that? Anne?
I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So if you can attend for an extraordinary circumstance that is not a disability, whatever that may be, travel or whatever, you notify in advance, you are able to attend on Zoom.
It's at the discretion of the chair.
If you attend on Zoom, it's two different questions, I think. Do you count towards quorum and can you vote?
You do not count towards quorum, you are able to vote.
There's a problem there. Today.
Yeah. Obviously, the Senator Boris's bill assembly member.
We're voting on a number of things.
Right.
And if there's not a quorum.
Luckily, we do have quorum. So. But those are the rules that we have currently, and this is why we're trying to, clarify it. And I think most people try and alert the chair that they're not able to attend. But, if you're absent, you're absent. It's not. If you're not on Zoom and you're not in person. Yeah. So, the last meeting I had to do this kind of negotiation for 11 people, which is, please try and attend if at all possible. So, and then the other thing is, like, in the last 19 years, no one has been removed from the board for non-attendance. 19 years. Tonight, we're looking at 2 people, but the resolutions that we passed in executive committee were from members who stopped attending months ago. So there seems to be a lot of trepidation about attendance. You know, please do try to attend, but it's not like we're throwing people off the board constantly for not attending. Marty.
Prior to 19 years ago, we were able to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that we held back. We wanted the members to show up. And when we, in those times, much of the time, the individual who was non-attending then said, okay, I'll either resign or in fact started showing up.
Yeah. And I mean, if there was a problem with attendance, the board office reaches out to you, the board chair reaches out to you, usually the chair of the committee reaches out to you. So I don't think it's something that's unnoticed. And you know, if for whatever reason you have to stop attending, it's probably better to resign and let someone else take the position. But that's where we are. So hopefully that's clear. I know it's confusing. Oh, sorry, Miriam, go ahead.
Okay, did either person provide a reason for why they're not attending, or they just ghost the board?
They ghosted the board. Okay. And we're looking for someone who would be interested in getting more involved with the CB6 presence on social media. Don't have to volunteer right now, but if anybody is interested, please let me know. We do have some presence, but it's not very robust right now. And there was interest from CB3 and CB8 to look at waterfront access, greenway issues, and the FDR connections in our neighborhoods. So that was very positive. We anticipate welcoming 12 new members to the board in May. And we're developing the mentoring system that we talked about last month. Our district manager, Jesus Perez, will now give his report.
Thank you. But before I start, I have been notified that the representative from the comptroller's office has emerged.
Oh, okay.
Would you consent to giving her the floor?
Absolutely, please join us.
Evelyn?
Thank you. Good evening, and apologies for not being on camera. It was a bit rough for me out there tonight. I also was in a couple of other community board meetings tonight. That's why I'm here now. But I'll be brief. Thank you. Just wanted to highlight that our Homes Now, Homes for Generations campaign launched last month in conjunction with the Council Progressive Caucus and the Public Advocate and dozens of grassroots housing organizations, has been added to the Council preliminary budget response. This campaign calls for $2 billion in capital funding over the next 4 years to invest in the construction and preservation of permanently affordable housing. This will quadruple the city's investment through investing in HPD's Open Door and the Neighborhood Pillars program. We would love to come and present to your board if you are interested, and also we'll welcome the opportunity to work with you and for your support in seeing this campaign through. I already emailed you earlier today, but I'm more than happy to, further coordinate. Thank you and good evening.
Great, thank you. We'll definitely reach out to find out more about the program. Thank you. Jesus.
All right, thank you, everyone. I'll be very quick. One, the Civic Engagement Commission, which is partly tasked with providing services, educational and support services to community boards, has informed us that they have a series of trainings coming up on the topic of affordable housing and fair housing, educational trainings. So if you ever want to learn more about those topics, you would be encouraged to attend. We will send you information about those in a matter of minutes by email. So if you're interested, you can look in that email and attend those online trainings. Secondly, I did want to draw your attention to something that we've added to the CB6 website. We didn't get to show it last month because my computer decided to go crazy. But you all know the website. Under the resources section, under resources for community members, community board 6 members, you have all the stuff that you've always seen there. But recently we have put here a minutes writing tracker. We have always tracked who writes minutes in the committees and have been telling the chairs and the board chair who hasn't been writing minutes, who's been writing minutes too much. And our board chair decided that maybe it's best to have that information a little bit more available. And so that's why we came up with this. It is just a simple Google Sheet that has all the committees, all the members on the committees, and it's all the meetings of the year, and it will track who is writing the minutes. You will see that on some committees, it's fairly evenly distributed. You will see on other committees, it is not. We have heard from some, the chair has heard from some community board members that they don't think it's fair that they get tasked with doing it over and over and over again. So in the interest of spreading the task around a little bit, we've created that, and it's always available on the community board website. So if you're not sure whether you've taken minutes this year, or if you're a chair of a committee and you're not sure whom to assign or who to ask, you've got that as a resource now.
And it's not meant to be a punishment. Larry, go ahead.
You had an Airtable feature which allowed board members to sign up for their committee minute taking. Is that still live?
We had that. We did away with that because people weren't doing it. They weren't signing up. A handful of diligent people were, most were not. So we had to try something else. Okay. That concludes my report.
All right. Gabe Terzo, our treasurer, will now give a report.
Hey, thank you. As of April 1st, 2024, the CB6 budget is $588,000, $726. That includes street fair money. Of that, $377,435 is liquidated or otherwise encumbered. The encumbered funds break down as follows: $174,211 for rent, $102,502 for personal services, and $20,721 for other than personal services. Unencumbered money is $211,290, of which $137,446 are street fair funds. Thank you.
Okay, we've now arrived at our committee reports and resolutions. A reminder that the same rules stated at the beginning of the meeting apply. Members of the public, please note that during this session of the meeting, we only recognize questions from members of the board. The CB6 staff emailed the digital ballot to all members. Please click on the link in your email the office sent to open the ballot. Select your name from the drop-down list and select your vote on each resolution as they are presented. Do not hit submit until later in the meeting after the final resolution has been presented. At the end of the meeting, please submit after you've indicated all your votes on your ballot. You will not be able to submit the ballot unless you vote on every resolution. If you plan on abstaining, please select abstain. Final vote counts will be announced after the second roll call. If any part of our voting procedure is unclear, please raise your hand and we will address your question. Okay, our agenda. First, as executive, we have a resolution strongly supporting NYU Langone's application for federal funding for a second CT scanner at their Tisch Hospital Perelman Emergency Center. Marty.
A couple of things. One, generally we don't, well, not generally, historically we don't add funding in our, ask for funding within our resolutions. That being said, I don't know why this didn't go to the health committee.
Do you want me to answer that now, or do you want me to? We received the request, the day it was due, and out of, we felt it was supportive of NYU to vote on it at executive.
The resolution supports why NYU needs a second CAT scan. It doesn't support why the federal government should fund it. It doesn't say NYU doesn't have money, or they wanna, put in half and get, the other half. I would suggest that the resolution would support NYU Langone's obtaining a second CT scanner, and that the resolve would say that we strongly support NYU getting a second scanner, not necessarily the funding, because the federal government would care of us saying that NYU should get the funds or not. That we need it is another story, and that shows our support for the scanner.
Marty, are you offering an amendment?
Okay, and,
Seconded.
okay,
You can give language?
I just did.
yeah.
I'd like to see it. Just to be clear, they're applying for a very specific funding program through Senator Schumer's office.
Yeah, but again, we need the CT scanner. That's what that's our support.
What is the proposed?
The title. Supporting NYU Langone's need for a second CT scanner. Eliminating application for federal funding. And then just kind of mimicking that on the result.
Result?
So want to omit the words federal funding on the title?
Yeah,
Yes.
because our support for it, they're looking for our support for it, and our support is that we need it. Our people need it, and
We don't care how they get the money.
and so when you apply for a grant for the federal, for a federal grant, there's all these different papers that go along with the grant, which is the community, the individuals, or whatever, all support for the particular product or that is needed, that the grant ultimately would get. I unfortunately had to deal with this a few times.
Okay, I think, could we proceed to vote on the amended resolution?
My question is that if we're striking all mention of the word application, we may have to strike this entire clause, because it's about the fact that they have submitted an application.
Fine. Because that's true. That's a fact.
Okay.
All whereases are facts, and among those facts is that Langone's apply for it, and then we needed for this, we needed for that.
So just so everyone's clear, your changes are remove the word application and instead put the word need.
Application for federal.
Remove the word federal funding for, so that the title reads resolution strongly supporting NYU Langone's need for a second CT scanner at their Tisch Hospital Perelman Emergency Center. And is there any change to the resolved?
Just move that resolved.
Strongly supports
NYU Langone's need for the communities and the community and Langone's need for the second CT scanner.
at their whatever hospital. Okay, strongly supports.
And it's, yeah, the Tisch.
Okay.
Stronger.
At their Tisch Hospital Perelman Emergency Center.
Okay, if there is no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution as amended. Please mark your digital ballot. Those who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. Our next resolution is to remove Gerald Jones from Manhattan Community Board 6 for failure to meet attendance requirements. And hopefully you've all had a chance to look at the resolution. Marty?
Call the question.
Okay. If there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot. Our next resolution is to remove member Matthew Weintraub from Manhattan Community Board 6 for failure to meet attendance requirements. Are there any questions? Anne? Called question. If there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot.
Don't you have to tell us not to submit it yet?
No, you guys know that.
There's a new regime.
If you submit it now, you're in big trouble. That's all I'm saying. Transportation, Jason Fromowitz, Chair.
Thank you. We have a number of resolutions to vote on tonight. The first one is on the second bus lane, which the DOT is proposing be extended into a 24/7 bus lane. They extended to certain hours. They're also proposing to extend it from bus lane today to a offset bus lane. There'll be some other uses in the immediate curve moving over to the adjacent bus lane will move over to the lane over. And then lastly, they're also proposing widening the bike lane. There's a couple asks on there that we asked for from DOT to improve their plan. We're asking for some safety improvements, measures to prevent blocking with the parking, and we have some suggestions on the allocation of the open curb space and how that could be best allocated.
Marty.
Okay. The resolves outside of the lanes and the bike lanes include things, there are no whereases, there's no facts that support the requirements of these asks. In the past, how we dealt with this, we would conditionally approve or conditionally support blah, blah, blah with the so-and-so agency, including the following. And then we would list all the things that we would want, because therefore resolve is saying that we prove the facts that what we're putting in the resolve is so. But we didn't say anything about these items as a whereas. And so I would suggest that it would be make it conditionally and then list all these different things that would then improve the bill, what they're trying to do.
And Jason has a response.
Just to respond, I think the intention of the committee and the feeling of the committee was in overall support of this plan. I think I think that we would send the wrong message with a conditional approval. We're merely making additional suggestions rather than conditional requirements.
It's hard to understate how transformational this would be for our community here. And I want to urge you to vote for this. Under the Second Avenue bus, M15 is the busiest bus route in the whole United States, and it doesn't move because, as was stated earlier, it's constantly being blocked. So this is hugely transformative for our neighborhood. And then on the bike lane side, by widening it, slow cyclists can just be fine. They can stay to the left, and people can easily pass them. And it's totally fine to be slow. And then the cargo bikes can easily just go there, and people can pass them easily. So this is hugely transformative and such an important bill for neighborhood resolution.
B has your hand up.
Thank you, Sandy. So I want to echo what was just said. Using language like conditional means that you don't really support something that we've been asking for years and really are very supportive of what it is. The committee was actually brainstorming to improve it, but we would actually take what the enhancements are because it's really very important. So I think we leave it as it is and not use the word conditional, but leave it as it is with its support.
Thank you. Hayder, you had your hand
Yeah,
raised?
just a quick comment, and I apologize, I wasn't able to attend the last transportation meeting. But when we heard the proposal, I was just doing the numbers, and it seems like the number of people using bikes on a daily basis, which use this corridor, are about 1.7%, 1.6% of the total people. For buses, it's another 13%, so roughly about 15% will benefit from this expansion, while 85% are motorists in cars, and for them, it's going to be actually more congestion. So I just from a logical perspective, it seems a bit odd that 85%, which is a vast majority, will actually be inconvenienced versus 15% getting the benefit out of it. Of course, totally support that, what we should think about buses moving faster, but 6,000 bikes versus thousands and thousands of people stuck in traffic for longer times. I don't know how, why would this be a no-brainer proposal to support?
I think, do you want to, Gabe wanted to.
Thank you. I actually want to reply to the previous comment. These numbers are not set in stone. The reason the number of people who bike to the bus are not higher is because the conditions on this corridor are suboptimal, to put it kindly. Making it easier to bike and easier to bus would shift the proportion towards those other modes of transportation, probably substantially.
Jason, do you want to respond to the question? Go ahead, please, and then we'll have Larry.
Yeah, additional comment to add on that. I believe when we talk about allocating more space for buses and bikes, I'm not quite sure some of those numbers. I'm going to check them myself, but comparatively, you talk about emissions. The people riding on the bus and people riding bikes are reducing emissions rather than the vehicles that are, even if they do outnumber, which the bicyclists and the bus riders, they're more environmentally friendly mode of transportation. And I will also point out that we have congestion pricing on the horizon, which will hopefully reduce the demand for the general travel lanes, and also hopefully mitigate any potential congestion impact of this.
Okay, Larry?
In 2010, the current version of this Second Avenue arrangement was proposed. Different arrangement was proposed for First Avenue. That seems to have worked. Second Avenue has not. The things that the re-engineering were supposed to cure later included people accelerating and slamming their brakes because somebody cuts in front of them, somebody fell apart. This was the rationale for resorting things. It works on First Avenue. We're now implementing the same sort of a design on Second Avenue. And that's why the committee was very strong in support of this.
Rich?
Just very quick, I want to acknowledge that our member of the public, Michael, is that your name?
Yeah.
Yeah, made a similar point about First and Second Avenue, and it would be great to have some of the mobility improvements on Second Avenue that we already have on First. So thank you for that.
B has her hand up. Please go ahead, B.
I'd like to move, oops, can you hear me? I'd like to move the question.
Second.
Great. If there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot. Do you want to go into your next resolution?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so next resolution we have is a request to the Department of Transportation to extend commercial parking restrictions in front of the Trader Joe's on Third Avenue and 32nd Street from what's today, 6 days a week, excluding Sunday, to make it 7 days a week, including Sunday, and extend the time from today, those restrictions are at 7 p.m. and asking them to be extended until 10 p.m. This was at the request of management from Trader Joe's, and the committee felt it was appropriate to recommend.
Marty, go ahead.
I think it's a bad precedent. Why Trader Joe's and not Jane and Simon's deli? Everybody gets deliveries. The people who live in that neighborhood certainly want the parking spots after 7. If you do it for them, you're gonna have to do it for everybody else. It doesn't make sense. They can have their deliverers come when they're supposed to come. There are many cities that require deliveries overnight. That the deliveries are between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. I mean, it's the way of doing business.
Sorry, there are many hands went up at the same time. Roberto?
I think this is an extremely important thing to pass, especially because the reason that they are asking for this is because they are one of the few supermarkets that actually follows the law and does not use a 53-foot trailer. They use a smaller trailer, so they need more deliveries, and it's constantly blocking Third Ave. So we have to do something about this, and I urge you all to support it.
Thank you. Larry?
Marty, at the committee, I asked about the hours and whether they needed to be later than 10 o'clock. With congestion pricing, they're going to get the savings by delivering after 9 o'clock. And so I think this works.
Brock?
Hey, I went to talk to the Trader Joe management and take a look at the situation there, and there's constantly a truck blocking the lane of Third Avenue because there's nowhere to deliver, and there's just a few parked cars there. And Trader Joe's provides a huge service for the community. It's the most affordable grocery store in the area and produce, and they give tons and tons of jobs to our community. And in return, they just can't do their deliveries. There's nowhere for them to do it. So you would, I think, be doing a great service for the community to pass this.
Anne?
Yeah, I'd like to address Marty's original question, which is about the precedent. And maybe it's not such a bad precedent. Maybe we should make it easier for deliveries to happen at later hours. Honestly, when I think about the difference between First and Second Avenue and why it's difficult, I think it has less to do with bus lanes and offsets than it has to do with commercial deliveries. So if we can spread those out over more hours, maybe that's a good thing.
Okay, if there's I don't see any other hands, so if there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot.
All right, and lastly, we have a resolution in support of plans for creating a pedestrian pathway on the south outer roadway of the Queensboro Bridge. Similar to our resolution on the bus lanes in Second Avenue, Second Avenue. We had a few asks were in support of the plans. The requests were to ask for observation slots on the fence that will be put into place. We asked for additional signage for both vehicles and pedestrians to alert them to the changes. We suggested a delivery worker rest area may be appropriate for the site. And lastly, we had a request about an additional parking space that was created to make that a loading zone instead of parking space.
Are there any questions? All right, if there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot. And there was a recommendation that we speak with Community Board 8, as actually most of the bridge is in their district, and bring some of our suggestions to them. So we'll try and organize that. Larry?
The transportation committee may be meeting tonight.
Okay, we'll talk to them.
Discussing this issue.
We'll let them know our thoughts. Do you have a report, Jason?
Brief report. We met on Monday. Something that came up in the meeting that others might be interested in is that the New York City Ferry shuttle bus service on the 34th Street Pier has been discontinued. There's interesting discussion amongst the committee about the contractual obligations around providing that bus service and whether it's appropriate for it to be discontinued. So we're going to be doing some investigation into that. And we also had a productive initial discussion on my proposal for partial closure of the FDR on summer weekends. Had some good feedback and discussion around it. Could make some adjustments and take social everyone.
Great. Okay, land use and waterfront. Gabe Terzo, Vice Chair, is going to present.
Okay, we have one resolution tonight. We all remember Majid's terrific presentation last week, reimagining the FDR and how that would give us more public green space, how CV6 actually is has less green space compared to almost any other district, and how the FDR really cuts us off from the waterfront. So, we all took a deep dive and we discussed in the committee, and we decided that this proposal really represents the principles that we would like to see implemented. And we feel that it's also congruent with other ongoing East Side transformation projects. So we are asking our elected officials to endorse this project, and more importantly, to take proactive measures in conjunction with the community board, like holding public town halls and soliciting community feedback and moving it forward as much as they can. And we are asking our elected officials to take proactive steps in furtherance of this goal. Chair's report.
Oh, are there any questions? Any questions? Great. If there's no objection, we'll vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot and your report.
Okay, just two quick things in the chair's report. Our meeting this month has been rescheduled to Tuesday, April 16th. Please let us know if you can make it ahead of time if you're on that committee. Also on Tuesday, April 16th, City Council is hearing a bill to ban non-essential helicopter traffic in this area, including right up the street here, the heliport at 34th Street. So if you have strong feelings about helicopter traffic, one way or the other, please use this opportunity to testify in the public hearing on Tuesday, the 16th. Thank you.
And actually, CV6 has resolutions regarding the heliport, which certainly you could use as part of testimony. Larry? Oh, sorry, Brock was first. I'm sorry.
Just a quick add-on that you could also provide written testimony really easily, which I did. So I don't know if that's something you could put out in the newsletter. It's super easy to put written testimony about the helicopters.
Great.
I think we would be remiss in not mentioning Lou Sapersky and all of the work that he's done in this area.
Okay, if that's it, then we'll move on to business affairs and licensing, and Anton is going to give the report. The Vice Chair.
Or A, B, and C are, I should say, pretty much run.
Yes, the magic words bundle. Bundle A, B, and C.
That's exactly what I was gonna ask for.
All those in favor? Okay, all right, if there's no objection, we'll now vote on resolution A, B, and C. Please mark your digital ballots. And item D.
Item D, as you probably know, in past meetings, this committee has been very much involved with the situation with the Office of Cannabis Management rollout of the approval process for new cannabis applications, but this particular resolution reflects a different situation with the proliferation of illegal cannabis shops, particularly in Manhattan, but also throughout New York City. And there are a couple of bills, one before the City Council in Albany, which would help stem the proliferation and close down some of these illegal cannabis shops. As you heard before, I asked Assemblymember Boris about the budget for enhanced enforcement. I think it's nice to get some money for enhanced enforcement, but I think it's also important that the enforcement be so to speak, helped by having local laws which would give local enforcers the ability to close down these shops without having to go through some of the rigmarole which they have to do this. And as you know, if you sell liquor illegally, they immediately close you down. This is a step in trying to do that. If you sell cannabis illegally, we should be able to close them and keep them closed until unless they either obtain a license or are out of business permanently. We still feel in our committee that the Office of Cannabis Management is still not operating in an efficient manner. And as we know, Governor Hochul has also mentioned that, and maybe they will be more efficient going forward. But the issue right now is closing these illegal cannabis shops, which are dangerous. We don't know what they sell. We don't know who they sell to. They could be selling to underage kids. This is a situation we cannot tolerate. So our committee supports these two new laws, which are in both the Assembly and in the City Council, to help stem these illegal cannabis shops and close them down in a more efficient manner.
Do we have any, Marty?
Is there a Senate bill? No.
The question was, is there a Senate bill? And the answer is no. Okay. Seeing if there's a, oh, I'm sorry, Miriam?
Have there been any cases of these shops selling to minors? I saw that noted in the resolution. I just was wondering.
I don't think we know. Do we? If they've been selling to minors, has it been documented somehow?
I've seen some anecdotal evidence in newspapers and other reporting that they have been selling to minors. Some shops and some minors.
Okay. Sorry, Rich?
I'll just mention that the shop across from me, I know doesn't check the identity of that.
So, was there another question? Okay, if there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot. And that's the last item on the ballot. I think you can, please. Okay, public safety. Oh, I'm sorry, Anton, do you have a report?
We still have the anyway, there was a resolution of no objection for licensed to operate cannabis retail shop. I can say resolution of no comment to operate a cannabis dispensary on 201 East 30th Street by Smiley's Exotics. And now they have been to us a couple times. First time was that they would only sell cannabis for delivery. It would not be a retail shop. Subsequent to our approval of this type of establishment to sell only on delivery, we found that the Office of Cannabis Management had approved them to sell on a retail basis. So I thought it was a bit of a bait and switch, or we thought it was a bit of a bait and switch. In any case, they came to us to get our approval to sell on a retail basis. Because of this past history, we didn't feel that we would want to give them either an approval or to decline, so we sent this out as a no comment. And again, it gets back to the situation with the Office of Cannabis Management. We found, and other community boards have found, that they don't seem to be paying attention to anything that we have resolved in terms of approvals and no approvals for these cannabis applicants. And I think us and other community boards have been approaching the Office of Cannabis Management to get clarity on this issue, and we just have not received much cooperation. I think that's the best way to put it. So we're still struggling with this, as are many other community boards throughout the city. And I hope the situation can only improve. I understand some changes in the management of the Office of Cannabis Management, and perhaps this will lead to a better understanding between the OCM and community boards.
Yeah, thank you. Public safety, Matt Roberts.
Sorry, I'm gonna waive my report unless anyone has some questions.
Okay. Budget and governmental affairs, Nad Kalani.
So last meeting, we discussed the citywide statement of needs. There's a number of things that we need to get into here, but we basically talked about a lot of the different things that initiatives and different programs that are trying to move into our community that need, real estate, basically community operations. We didn't have much going on there, but I think it's a good part of what we're trying to do probably what we're going to discuss next meeting, which is really just continuing to revamp the budget process. So a lot of these become more proactive versus reactive. And that's something we'll be discussing next meeting, is just continuing to flesh it out. We've been working on basically creating a month by month agenda, things that come up every year, the timing of those, and basically how we can be proactive about those. And the idea there is because of how, the meetings work here, we also often end up like scrambling to get something out right before it's due. So by putting that together, we'll be in a better spot to basically be proactive, get those out on time, and give those the debate and thought they need.
Great, thank you. John Darico is not with us this evening. I don't think was he able to join late. I don't think so. And actually the April meeting was canceled. It was extremely difficult to find a date between all the different things that are happening at the end of April. So their next meeting will be in May. Environment and Parks, Neil has not been well, and the meeting was canceled this month. Housing and homelessness, Rich.
I do unfortunately have a very brief report, just a couple of things. One, last month we met jointly with land use, and in addition to what's already been discussed, we got a presentation on City VS for housing opportunity, which will be coming to us, a presentation from George James. We'll be getting it officially in a couple of months, and it will be very interesting. There are a lot of proposals that may affect housing construction district, so be aware of the on its way. We also got a presentation from our planning fellow about ops, about privately owned public spaces, which is a project that is underway and will be coming about that. And finally, the housing committee, as you might guess, is holding our breath for the budget, and we expect there will be things to talk about in the next meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Health and Human Services, Elvie.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. We have two complicated topics in our agenda, and we're fortunate to have two members in our committee who have volunteered to take the lead. So Barack will take the lead on the unhoused individuals with mental health issues, and Kevin will take the lead on the health impact of cannabis. That's all. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Board members, if you have any old or new business to state, please raise your hand. Okay, Livia will now conduct the second roll call.
Members, I will now call on you for the second roll call. If you have not submitted your ballot, please do so now. If you are unable to use the digital ballot, CB6 staff will ask you for your vote on each of tonight's resolutions. Majed Abdul Samad, Kyle Thane, Neil Barkley, Martin Barrett, Elvie Barroso,
Present.
Claire Brennan, Jim Collins, Claire Brennan.
I am here.
Awesome.
Claire, we need your ballot.
Okay.
Jim Collins, Jonathan Dorico, Stuart Desert, Beatrice Desmond,
Present.
Barack Friedman, Jason Fromowitz, Eric Goldberg, Gerald Jones, Paige Judge, Rupal Kakan, John Keller,
Present.
Nadeem Kalani, Abigail Cruzmark, Sandra Leftoff,
Present.
David Lowenstein, Anton Malmer, Sandra McKee,
Present.
Richard Mitz, Rajesh Nair,
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe,
Present.
Stephen O, Reshma Patel, Stephen Perez, Miriam Ralph, Matt Roberts, Robert Ruiz Mendez, Lauren Shayer,
Present.
Ann Seligman, Sandra Sharon, Lydia Shernick, present, Letty Simon,
Present. If you don't have my ballot, I'm in favor of all the resos.
We've got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Steinberg,
Present.
Mark Thompson,
Present.
Gabriel Churzo, Jerry Weinstein, Matthew Weintraub, Sarah Whittington, Peter Zeddy,
Present.
All right, with all the ballots in, we will now call the votes. Executive resolution. Can everyone mute themselves? Here's some feedback. All right, executive resolution 1A on the NYU CT scanner passes with 30 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention, and 2 not entitled. Resolution 1B on removing Gerald Jones from the board passes. 32 in favor, no opposed, 1 abstention, 0 not entitled. Gerald Jones is removed from CB6 and is no longer a member. Resolution 1C, removing Matthew Weintraub, passes. 32 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention, 0 not entitled. Matthew Weintraub is removed from CB6. Resolution 2A, on the Second Avenue and bus lane plan passes. 30 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention, 1 not entitled. A transportation resolution 2B on Trader Joe's parking passes. 29 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention, 2 not entitled. Resolution 2C on the Queensboro Bridge passes. 32 in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, 1 not entitled. Resolution 3A on the FDR Drive report passes unanimously with 33 in favor. The Bulk resolution 4A passes with 33 in favor. It's unanimous. Bulk resolution 4B passes unanimously, 33 in favor. Bulk resolution 4C passes unanimously, 33 in favor. Bulk resolution 4D regarding the state and city legislation on closing illegal smoke shops passes, 31 in favor, 2 opposed, 0 abstentions, and 0 not entitled. And that concludes the votes. All resolutions passed tonight.
Thank you, Jesus.
You're welcome.
If there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting. Great. Thank you all for.
Good meeting. Good night. Thank you. Stay dry.
Seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 8:30.